Tonight, fears of contamination in Hacienda Heights from a battery recycling plant.
Health officials are actually going door to door. KCAL 9's Joy Benedict explains why.
It's not every day the Department of Health goes knocking door to door, but that's exactly who descended on this community in Hacienda Heights.
I understand that, trying to keep the neighborhood safe.
At issue is the Quametco battery recycling facility about a block away.
You know, the state's been doing some testing, and they've observed that, in fact, at times the emissions of both arsenic and lead have been really high.
LA County's director of the Department of Health, Barbara Ferrer, was one of dozens walking the streets handing out information.
One of our biggest concerns, obviously, is the exposure to lead for small children, children under 6, and pregnant women, because, you know, lead is devastating. In terms of brain development and organ development.
The health department also held a resource fair and offered free blood tests for possible lead levels.
I think as parents, of course, we're a little bit concerned.
Which is why Mike Sang and his wife brought their 3 children to be tested, just in case.
Our kids play out there all the time in the dirt and stuff, so we try to remind them to wash their hands before they eat, but you know.
Health officials say small particles of lead are released during the battery recycling process. Those particles end up in the air and then settle on lawns nearby. That's why it's recommended that those living near the plant don't garden or even allow small children to play outside.
If they're walking through their yards, when they come into the house, they need to take off their shoes, not track the soil through the house. They need to wash their hands.
Quametco doesn't address the issue directly on its website, but points out that it has invested $50 million in pollution-controlled equipment in the last decade. And some neighbors say they aren't too worried.
We just haven't been sick. We have no effects of it all, and so it has not concerned me.
Right now, testing is only being done within a quarter mile of this facility. But folks who live in this neighborhood say that needs to change, that soil needs to be tested within a couple of miles from this plant.
Because we know that the wind pushes stuff that way. And that's my neighborhood. And those are the places that we don't yet know fully the extent of the contamination.
Another reason for the resource fair and the blood tests, as the county just wants to make sure this plant is being a good neighbor and doing its part to keep those who live here safe. Joy Benedict, KCAL 9 News.